You were sitting at a lunch table, eating a $1.25 bag of chips, and you have just decided you are never doing this again. Not the chips, not the table, not the job, or the commute, or the apartment that costs too much for what it is. All of it. You have decided all of it ends. You don't have a plan, you don't have capital, you don't have a mentor or a trust fund or a family member who's ever built anything. What you have is this feeling, tight in your chest, specific, and for the first time, completely serious. Nobody in your family has done what you're about to attempt. There is no roadmap, no safety net, no one to call if this goes wrong. There is only the decision and the cost of the decision in the long road between where you are and where you're going. This is not a motivational video. This is what it actually costs, level by level, dollar by dollar, and piece by piece of the person you used to be. Level 1, the decision. The decision doesn't arrive like an inspiration. It arrives like a limit. Something happens, a rent increase notice slid under your door, a declined transaction at a gas station, a boss who talks to you like you're replaceable because you are, and something in you reaches the end of its rope and ties a different kind of knot. Economists who study economic mobility in America will tell you that roughly 70% of people born into the bottom income quintile will die in that same quintile. The system is not designed to lift you, it is designed to keep movement slow and friction high. You didn't know the statistic then, but your body already understood it. You are not inspired, you are angry. And the anger is specific. It has a face, a number, a moment attached to it. That specificity is important. Vague ambition fades. This kind of anger doesn't. This kind of anger becomes fuel for years. You don't tell anyone what you decided. It's not a conversation you know how to have yet. You just feel it sitting in your chest, quiet and certain, like a key that fits a lock you haven't found yet. The decision doesn't feel like power. It feels like desperation. And that is exactly what makes it real. Level 2, the education phase. You start consuming everything. You read books that nobody around you has heard of. You watch videos at 2 in the morning about cash flow and asset allocation and compound interest, and you rewind and watch them again because nobody ever explained any of this in school. Nobody taught you how money actually moves. You're starting from scratch, and you know it, and it makes you ravenous. A researcher named Tom Corley spent 5 years studying self-made millionaires. One of the things he found was that 88% of them read for self-improvement at least 30 minutes a day. Not fiction, not news, deliberate, targeted learning. You understand that now on a cellular level. The library becomes more important than the bar. The podcast replaces the playlist on the commute. Every spare hour becomes an investment in the only thing you can actually control, how much you understand. You start using words that sound strange in your mouth at first. Asset, liability, cash flow, return on investment. You say them to yourself when no one's listening, testing how they feel. And when you say them around people you grew up with, you see the look, the slight pause, the subtle shift, and you file it away. Something is already beginning to separate. You know more about money than anyone in your immediate world, and you haven't made a single dollar yet. The gap between knowing and doing is the most dangerous place you will spend time. Some people live there forever. You know more about money than anyone in your family, and you haven't made any yet. Level 3, first dollar outside the paycheck. The notification hits your phone on a Wednesday afternoon, $200. You stare at it, you read it again. You made this money while you were doing something else, while you were sleeping or working or sitting in traffic. This money arrived without you trading your time for it, and that is the moment the entire theory becomes real. It doesn't matter how you got there. Maybe it's a freelance gig. Maybe it's a small product you sold online. Maybe it's a service you figured out how to package. What matters is that you proved the concept. You are not limited to what a paycheck decides you're worth. That ceiling was never real. It was just the only ceiling you'd ever looked at. Entrepreneurship research is consistent on this point. The psychological shift of earning income outside a traditional paycheck is one of the most significant identity-altering experiences a person can have. It doesn't just change your bank account. It changes how you see time. You start calculating everything differently. That 2-hour lunch you used to drag through becomes unbearable. Every wasted hour has a new weight to it. You screenshot the $200. You don't post it, you just look at it. On the worst days ahead, you will look at it again. Not because of the money, because of what it proved. $200. It's nothing, it's everything. It's proof the system can work for you. The sacrifice window. You are now living 2 lives simultaneously. There is the job, the thing that pays the rent while the other thing grows, and there is the build. You wake up before the job starts, you work on it after the job ends, Your lunch break is phone calls and emails and decisions. You are pouring yourself into both containers at once, and both containers keep demanding more. Behavioral economists have studied why people fail at this stage, and the answer isn't lack of skill or lack of opportunity. It's loss aversion, the fear of losing what's stable in exchange for what's possible. The stable salary feels real. The future income feels like a story you're telling yourself. Every month you stay in the build, you are betting against the part of your brain that is screaming at you to stop. Most people listen to that voice. You are trying not to. The relationships start to show the strain. You miss things. Not big things at first. Just a dinner, a hangout, a phone call you meant to return. Then bigger things. You stop explaining why because the explanation takes energy you don't have. Your friends are not wrong for pulling back. They don't understand the trade you're making, and you can't fully articulate it yet either. You just know that if you stop now, you go back, and you decided you were never going back. You are paying a price that doesn't show up anywhere. No one can see it. No one around you is keeping score of what this is costing you, and you don't know yet, not really, whether the math is going to work out. You are paying a price nobody around you can see, and you don't know yet if it works out. The first real money. The numbers start to look different. Not dramatically, not overnight, but consistently. Month over month, the trajectory is undeniable. At some point, you look at a quarterly figure and you realize you made more in 90 days than one of your parents makes in a full year. You close the laptop. You don't say this out loud. You don't know how to say this out loud. Behavioral psychologists have documented a phenomenon that doesn't get talked about much. The experience of crossing an economic line that none of your origin community has crossed. The money is real. The success is real. And yet something feels wrong, or at least strange in a way you didn't expect and weren't warned about. A feeling that this version of you hasn't fully arrived yet, that you are somehow performing a life that doesn't belong to you. Not yet. Maybe not ever. You go home for the holidays and everything looks the same. The house, the table, the conversations, but you are sitting in a different body than the one that used to fit perfectly in this room. Nobody names what has happened. You help when you can, quietly, without making it a moment, and you deflect the questions about how things are going because the real answer is too complicated for the dinner table. You made it, and the first thing you feel isn't celebration. It's a kind of loneliness you don't have a word for yet. You made it, and somehow the first thing you feel isn't pride. It's alone. Learning to move like money. You get a CPA, then a business attorney. You sit in an office that costs more per hour than you used to make in a day, and you learn things about the tax code that feel almost offensive to learn this late. High earners who keep everything as regular income get taxed at rates that push past 37%, but capital gains, money that grows from assets, gets taxed at a maximum of 20%, and often significantly less. The system rewards people who already have money in a language that nobody teaches until you can afford the teacher. You learn about LLCs, about S-corp elections, about depreciation and 1031 exchanges. You learn that wealth isn't just earned, it's structured. The difference between a high earner and a wealth builder isn't always income, it's architecture. How you hold what you make, how you move it, how you make it work while you're not working. Something shifts in how you think, not just about money, about time, about decisions, about people. You start thinking in quarters instead of weeks. You start evaluating relationships, not cynically, but clearly. Who is building? Who is consuming? Who is serious? Who is performing seriousness? You have become more precise, and precision, in the circles you're starting to move in, is a form of power. You used to resent the system. Now you understand it, and understanding it means you are no longer fully outside of it. You file that thought away somewhere and keep moving. You used to hate the system. Now you're learning to use it. The question is, what that makes you. The $1 million confirmation. There is no ceremony, there is no notification, there is no moment where the world pauses and acknowledges what just happened. You were checking a spreadsheet on a Tuesday. Maybe it's early morning, maybe it's late at night. The number at the bottom of the column has crossed a threshold. You read it twice. You close the laptop. According to financial research, roughly 22 million American households carry a net worth exceeding $1 million. And the data consistently shows that the vast majority, close to 80% in surveys of wealthy Americans, are self-made. They did not inherit this. They built it. They sat at tables with spreadsheets in years when no one was watching, and they did the thing that most people decide is too hard or too slow or too uncertain. You are now one of them. It does not feel the way you imagined it would feel. You thought there would be a surge, a release, a profound sense of arrival. What there is instead is quiet. The same quiet that was there before, the same apartment or house or office, the same you. And you sit with the number and you think about the lunch table and the $1.25 bag of chips and the version of yourself who made the decision that started all of this. And you feel something that isn't quite pride and isn't quite peace. It's something closer to weight. You've crossed, but crossing doesn't feel like landing. It feels like looking back at how far the shore is. $1 million. A Tuesday. A cup of coffee. Nothing else changes. Yet. Level 8. The identity you can't give back. You can go back to the neighborhood. You can walk the same streets, eat at the same places, sit at the same tables. What you cannot do is go back to being the person who lived there. That person is gone. Not because you chose to discard them, but because the process of becoming who you needed to be in order to get here quietly replaced them, one decision at a time, over years. Researchers who study wealth psychology document this consistently. They describe the experience of first-generation wealth builders as a kind of quiet grief, a grief for belonging, for the simplicity of shared context, for the ease of a room where everyone is operating on the same assumptions. You don't have that ease anymore. You might never have it again in exactly that form. Some relationships survived the journey. Some didn't. Some people grew with you. Some grew in different directions. And some, the ones that sting the most, simply couldn't reach the version of you that emerged. That's not blame. That's not superiority. It's just the truth of what transformation actually costs when you look at it clearly, without the filter of motivation poster language telling you the hustle was worth it. Here is what no one tells you. The version of success you chased was defined by the version of you who wanted it, and that version is gone. The person sitting with the result is someone new, someone more capable, more calculated, more clear, and in some specific, aching ways, more alone than the person who sat down at that lunch table and made a decision. You got everything you said you wanted, and now you have to live with who you became to get it. You are sitting in a room that cost more than your childhood home. The numbers on your screen confirm what your life has become. And somewhere right now, in a break room, in a parking lot, at a table in a cafeteria that smells like bad coffee, someone is sitting with a $1.25 bag of chips, reaching the end of their rope, tying a different kind of knot. They don't know what it costs yet. They haven't done the math. They can't see the Tuesday when the spreadsheet crosses, or the holiday dinner where the room no longer quite fits, or the quiet of a Wednesday morning when you realize the person you built this for is not the person you became. You got everything you said you wanted, and now you have to live with who you became to get it. And if someone asked you right now, knowing everything it costs, every piece of yourself it takes, would you do it again? You already know the answer. You always have.